There we go. All right, so we are going to get started. My name is Verlaine Quinney. I am the founder of the Connect 757, and we are co-hosting with Andre. Andre, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Andre Marable. I'm the founder and owner of the Pack Roadtrip Travel Club. And I just want to welcome everybody tonight to this dynamic discussion we're going to have tonight. Just a few things to go over about the event layout of tonight. Um, the etiquette that we're going to use tonight is that we're going to have several questions that we're going to ask our great set of panelists about travel. We ask that everybody stay on mute during this time. And at the end of the conversation, we're going to unmute everybody and allow you to ask our panelists questions. One thing you want to check out, if you look in the bottom tray, we have a poll set up with a series of questions. Feel free to go in as we're just talking to answer those poll questions, and we'll reveal the results of that poll later on in the discussion. Also, this is being recorded. We're using it for future use and also promotion of future events that we're going to have. So what we're going to do now is just introduce our panelists. We have three great panelists today. I'm actually going to start with you, Quenisha Johnson. I'll allow you to introduce yourself to the audience tonight.
Hey, I'm Quenisha Johnson. I am the owner of Worldly Travels. I've been in business since 2019, but I've been pretty much traveling my whole life. And I look forward to having this experience with you all.
Great. Thank you, Quenisha. Next, we're going to let Iris introduce herself.
Hey guys, I'm Iris, owner of Surreal Journeys Travel. I've been in the travel industry since 2015. I specialize in group travel. However, I do personalized trips also.
Great, sounds good. And last but not least, Mr. Brian Oliver, I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Oliver, known online primarily as Beyond Be More. I started a travel blog at the end of 2015 to showcase my travels and encourage other young Black men, particularly those from my city, Baltimore, to travel and see the world. I founded a nonprofit last year, just before COVID hit, to encourage minority young men from Baltimore City public schools to travel as well and to be educated about the world outside of their neighborhoods, because I felt like a lot of us never go out of the boundaries of where we grew up to even know that there's a different life out there for us. I'm looking forward to the panel today, and thanks again.
All right. Thank you again for joining us tonight. So let's jump right into it. We have a short amount of time and a lot of questions to talk about. We're first going to cover the topic of solo travel. I think this is one situation everybody can agree to. We have a group of friends, we're looking to go somewhere, and we're preparing to go travel. But then once people have to commit money to go on a trip, everybody starts to back out. It's like the classic scenario. And end up you're solo dolo, you're pretty much by yourself. So the first question is, well, kind of backing up too, is a lot of people are afraid to travel by themselves. So the first question that we have is, what things do you want to consider if you do decide to travel solo? And I'm going to throw this question over to Brian.
All right, yeah, it's funny the way that you introduced the question, because the first time I actually traveled internationally alone was because my friends backed out on a birthday trip that I was taking to London and Paris. And I was just determined to still go. And this was before we had, Google Maps and things like that on our phones. So I had to print out everything on MapQuest. And once I came back and I survived that trip, I felt like I could do solo travel anytime. And that's pretty much why I do it the way I do now. I'm almost by myself like 99% of the time on trips. But one of the first things that I look for is, the safety in a particular city or the country that I want to visit, because I think that's number one. Second, I'm always looking at how affordable it is to make sure, there are some destinations where everyone wants to go, but it's much better if you're going with a group instead of going by yourself because of the expenses that you have to kick out. I also look at the nightlife. I love going out. So I'm trying to figure out what there is to do at night, how walkable the place is, if I want to bar hop and things like that. And also, the transportation, because there's nothing like being somewhere and you need to get to another destination while you're there and you're stranded due to lack of public transportation, lack of taxis, or lack of Uber. So all of those come together, and that's how I decide if I want to go somewhere, if I don't.
Sounds good. You're braver than me, man. I haven't traveled overseas by myself, only domestically.
Oh, wow.
Adventure, but I mean,
I'm working on you, Andre.
Yeah. We'll talk.
I'm trying to travel solo. I haven't done that yet either. But the next question, let's go over to you, Quenisha, because I know you also enjoy traveling solo, and you actually have encouraged me personally to travel solo. But how do you meet new people when you are traveling alone?
During my experiences with traveling solo, one way that I've been able to meet a lot of people is actually staying in a hostel. And then for those who may not be familiar with it, is hostel is kind of like you're staying in this hotel that is more so on a dormitory type style living arrangements, where you may be in a room with other people, you may be sharing a bathroom with other people. It's very budget friendly. A lot of places you can stay per night, sometimes $10, $20 per night. At hostels. And the great thing about hostels are they usually have like these community events where you would get together with other people in the hostels. They'll have like, they'll serve dinner to everyone. They'll have game night. And those types of things. And it's a great way to meet new people, especially people from other countries, especially like going to hostels here in the United States. Most of those travelers are international travelers. Like at one time when I was staying at a hostel, I was the only US citizen there. And it was a really great experience. We all kind of got to know each other, exchanged social media. We went out together, once we kind of got comfortable with each other. And it was a great experience. And also with meeting other people, it's kind of going on excursions or group events that you can kind of do. Say you want to go out at night, but hey, I'm by myself. I don't really feel comfortable going out by myself. You can group excursions like bar crawls, where you'll be meeting up with a group of people and you'll basically be going to different bars with those people during those times. And I think those will give you a better security in a way you can kind of meet them beforehand and kind of experience that with them as well. And it can give you a little more security. Also with travel groups, finding other people that are in those locations that you can meet up with in public places or public events. That's also a great way to meet new people.
Thank you for that. Andre, plug travel group.
Sounds good. Hey, I'm all about travel groups. You know that. So the next topic is still a lot of people that may be a little anxious or concerned about traveling solo. And I've seen a lot of people on social media do vacations. That's a big thing. I will admit I have done a few vacations myself. So I want to turn over to Iris. What are your thoughts on going on a vacation?
I think vacations are awesome. I think everyone needs to experience it a few times in their lives. I think it's sexy. I think it's awesome to make new memories with your partner, to experience new things, to just do adventures together, to feel free and disconnect from the world and just focus on each other. I think that it matures your relationships. I think it brings you closer and all of that. Absolutely. I'm for vacations.
Sounds good. And you're not the only one for vacations. I'm looking at the poll results. We asked the question, have you ever experienced a vacation? 41% of our group said yes. 50% said, 55% say no, however they want to experience it. And we have 5% that said they're not interested. So.
Oh, wow.
Maybe there's they in the chat, so share that information. Maybe you can have a connection for vacation here. For the next question, Quenisha, how much do you plan in advance versus how much do you leave up to spontaneity when it comes to the trip itself?
Traveling for my own personal experience, I like to do as much as I can while I'm at a destination. Typically, my days are typically packed with from that morning to what I'm going to do that night. But as I get older, I don't have the stamina that I used to have when I was younger. So, I have to put in time for relaxation and rest as well. There's certain things that I definitely feel like you need to plan and put into place beforehand, especially something that may be on limited availability, things in regards to booking. But I think it's a people really need to have like a good balance of those adventures, those resting and relaxing, and also time to just kind of do whatever you feel to be in the mood to do.
Sounds good. The next question is just about solo travel in general. We want to know how solo travel has changed your life. I'm going to turn it over actually to Brian to answer that question.
Yeah, as I said, the first trip that I took alone was because my group backed out. And so the first thing it taught me was not to wait on others if there's something that you want to experience, because if you do, you may not ever get that chance. It also showed me how fearless I am. Every time I go somewhere, even if I've been before and I'm repeating the destination, there is a bit of anxiety that you feel because you don't know what to expect once you get there, despite how much you plan. But once I return home, I'm like, oh, I can do anything. I also didn't know that I could be as social as I am until I had to go out alone at night, and you sit down at a bar or a restaurant, and you have to speak to someone else, and next thing you know, you're hanging with them for the rest of your trip or the rest of their night or something, and then you become like lifelong friends just because you opened your mouth and said hello. Besides that, I'm just way more receptive to different people and cultures than I'd ever been before I'd gone out alone and left America, especially.
Sounds good. I'm looking at the poll right now. We asked the question, do you prefer solo travel? Actually, 59% said no, 41% said yes. So we got to change that, guys. We got to get y'all on the solo travel bandwagon. It definitely will change your life once you do it for the first time.
I know we have a lot of ladies on here tonight. So Iris, what advice would you provide for women thinking about traveling alone, since that is one of the things that we want to
Verlaine, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
We lost your sound, Verlaine.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Oh no. Can you hear me?
Well, what I can do is cover for you, Verlaine. The next question we want to ask is particularly about women traveling solo. And I want to turn it over to Iris. What advice would you give to women that want to travel solo?
Oh goodness, do it. Ladies, I am telling you, you need to do it. Step outside of your comfort zones. It empowers you. It gives you a sense of just, wow, I did this, I can do this. It allows you to just focus on yourselves. Us women, we're moms, we're wives, we work, we have full loads, we're carrying a lot on our backs. So solo travel just allows you to disconnect from all of that. Just focus on yourself, recharge. You're free. You can do what you want to do without, waiting on someone or getting that permission from your friend on what she wants to do that day. You can meet new people. It's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. I love, strong advocate for solo travel. Absolutely. And don't tell yourself that you'll be alone. I promise you'll meet people out there. You will absolutely connect with others that are solo or groups. They all welcome you in. And I've gotten so many friends from traveling on my own.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, just getting over that initial fear about going solo. Like all the points everybody has covered, you're going to meet people, and it's easy to do. Once you plan it out, figure out where you're going, what you're going to do, everything just flows perfectly like you were on a trip with a group of people.
It changes you, it really does.
That's true. Also, one thing is about safety and traveling. How do you feel about traveling at night? I'm going to turn that question over to Quenisha to answer.
So when it comes to traveling at night, I would really pretty much want people to kind of avoid traveling, walking around, exploring at night by themselves, especially with women. But if you are going to be out at night, there's certain precautions to definitely take just for, any type of traveling during that night, whether you're solo or with a group. Just avoid walking around in, isolated areas by yourself, stay in more public places, be alert of your surroundings, be sober. You want to be coherent to what's going on around you and those types of things. Beforehand, like before you leave, kind of get a good look at the map and kind of understand your surroundings of where things are. Send your location to people to know, to let them know where you're going to be at or where you currently are, in case something were to happen. And just kind of be alert, follow your gut. If you're feeling weary about something or someone, definitely make someone else alert, or get yourself out of those types of situations the best that you can. But definitely be alert, be aware of your surroundings and things that are going on. Let other people know where you're going to be at during those times. And like I said, trust your gut. Definitely.
That's true. That's the key thing, is trust your gut. You made a good point about letting people know where you're at. That's definitely key when traveling solo. I do that constantly, call my mom, dad, my friends list pretty much. But I don't post on social media. That's the key thing. I don't do a lot of posts on social media until I get back home from my trip.
There you go. Or at least after you've left the restaurant, or, wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Verlaine, is your sound back?
I was just gonna try. Can you hear me?
No, we still can't hear you. No problem. So with all this technology that's out there, what are some of your favorite apps to use when traveling solo? And I give that question back to you, Quenisha, to answer.
One thing I love to use when I'm traveling, especially with solo, is Google Maps. I love to have the major streets, where I'm going in case something were to happen, I need to get back myself. Those Google Maps definitely helps. Google Translate, especially if you're in an international country and English is not their primary language or you're not familiar with the language. It can help you with reading signs. It can help you with communicating with others there if you need to, and understanding what others are trying to communicate to you. Find your phone app, definitely have that downloaded and have someone able to access that as well. Besides yourself, the weather app, so you can stay up to date on what the weather's going to be like the next day or the upcoming days. Transportation apps, some places have where they have public transportation, they'll have apps that you can download where you can look at the transportation schedule and those types of things. Uber, Lyft, whatever other resources that they may have.
Yeah, good. All good points. There's some new ones in there I need to download and use. Those are really good points, Quenisha.
Oh, and the Compass app as well. Knowing which direction you're going, north, south, east, or west, those can be helpful as well.
All right, sounds good. Next, we're going to turn to traveling during COVID. I think all three of you have traveled during COVID within the last year or so. It's so many great travel deals. I mean, I would want to fly every day if I could, but I can't. It's my 9-to-5 job. So how has your experience been during COVID when traveling? I'll turn that question over to Iris.
Oh, perfect, because I've been out of here traveling. Let me see, let me answer the survey. All right. Traveling during the pandemic has been awesome. I have gone to Africa. I've been to Mexico a few times, Jamaica, Grenada. I've been all over the place. It really hasn't, stopped my travel much. The first few months it did, but I am enjoying it. The resorts are less packed. I have been finding amazing deals. I know last year, some of my flights, I was paying, $800-900 a flight. Now I'm finding myself paying anywhere between $200 and $500. So I'm saving lots of money. The protocols are much better than they are in the United States. They are on top of things with COVID, wiping things down. We were in Ghana and we couldn't enter any stores or restaurants without washing our hands. They have those hand washing stations, not just sanitizer. They have sinks, outside everywhere, and just making sure that, that you are, prepared and you're protecting yourselves and others before you enter those establishments. They're not planned, so I've enjoyed it. I have absolutely enjoyed it, and I'm going to continue to enjoy it.
And looking at the poll results, everybody feels the same way. 78% has already traveled by air. Only 22% said they're not going to try until the virus is completely gone. I completely understand that. The next question is, when traveling, what are some of the precautions to take? And I'll turn that question over to Brian.
Especially now, I just tell everyone, do your research before you decide that you want to go somewhere, because, most places now are requiring that you have a COVID test within 72 hours of boarding your flight. And, the airlines are definitely checking before you board, but I also feel as though sometimes someone may slide through the cracks and you land somewhere. And when they ask for your results, you don't have it to present. And then it's like, well, what do you do? They're going to try to send you back. So especially right now, and you also have to be tested now to fly back into the US if you're coming from a non-US territory. And so you have to make sure that you know where you're going to get that test in enough time before you fly back to the US. So right now, a lot of resorts on islands and, major hotels are offering it in other cities, but you just need to make sure, or you're going to be, possibly spending money out of your pocket, and it could be very expensive because a lot of other countries don't have the same resources that we have. So they need to tax you because they don't have as much of a supply of tests as we do. So definitely do your research. And then also, I always say this as well, no matter where you're going, just make sure they have a decent enough healthcare system, because the last thing you want to do is get sick somewhere else and not be able to get the proper care that you need. And I mean, it's a disaster waiting to happen if you don't do that research.
That's correct. That's true. Definitely do your research. So on that same note, what places should people avoid right now? And I turn that over to Quenisha to answer.
Yes, I don't have any specific places that I feel like people should avoid right now, but more so piggybacking off of what Brian stated in regards to being well aware of the regulations, travel guidelines that are put in place. They have some people that want to travel to certain locations and they're booking things, but those destinations may not be accepting U.S. citizens. And you don't want to waste your time and your money booking those things when you aren't able to go there. But also just being aware of, just with normal travel, with what's going on with the government, seeing if there's any kind of uprising, any rebellions going on, just seeing what their normal safety guidelines and safety rules are in regards to crime rates and things of those sorts. And also in regards to if you're very serious about the COVID precautions, what kind of precautions are they taking, or what kind of precautions are being put in place in that country, in that destination, or at the resort that you're going to be in, to making sure that you'll be comfortable while you're there.
Sounds good. We just did another poll about, are you planning on receiving the COVID vaccination? 35% said I'm fully vaccinated. 30% are unsure. We have 50% that receive one dose. 10% that said they're going to get it when they're able to, and 10% said no. So a wide range of results on that question right there. Change the topic a little more, talk about something more positive. One thing I want to know from the group is, what are some of your top local and international travel destinations you would recommend for this upcoming month or year? And I'm going to pass that question to Iris.
I recommend everything, but I can share some of my favorites for African Americans. I mean, I'm all for the culture. I'm all for, opening, yourself up and learning new cultures. I definitely recommend us visiting the homeland at some point if we're able to. It's just, they embrace you so much. They're so welcoming. It's so awesome. I recommend Colombia. The Black Colombia tour is awesome. I'll, be there again in a few months. I recommend Puerto Rico, Jamaica, St. Lucia, Barbados, anything for the culture. I'm all for it. Also, step outside of your comfort zones. Go and try, some Asian, countries and stuff like that. So it's just, the world was too big for us to stay in one place all of our lives. So I highly encourage, anything outside of the norm and outside of your neighborhood.
I definitely agree with that. And Quenisha, I'll pass the next question to you. So a lot of people are probably in the mode of planning their next trip. What's some of the things to consider if you're doing a family trip, a ladies trip, or any type of group trip coming up in the next year or so?
I think one of the most important things for people to consider when they're traveling, when they're planning these types of travels, is a budget, to get an idea of a budget that you guys want to have set for accommodations, for transportation, whether you're flying, driving, or things like that, and want to make sure that people are on the same page. Also with, they say you don't really know someone until you travel with them. And so, finding out or figuring out what that compatibility with, because you don't want to travel with someone and then you're miserable there with them. And sometimes you just kind of don't find that out until you're actually traveling with them. Determining what kind of itinerary you guys want to work with. Is it something that you guys want to have the time where you're out pre-planned, or you just kind of want to go off on a whim on things? And also understanding that even if you're traveling with a group or with just a small group of friends, that you don't have to do everything that everyone else does, and that everyone doesn't have to do everything that you want to do. It's perfectly fine to go off and do things solo. It's perfectly fine to stay in the bed or in the hotel room till 3 p.m. and letting everyone know and be comfortable with making those decisions and letting know that it's okay if you don't want to go, and it's okay if we do, and things like that. I think that's a very important conversation to have, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Sounds good. We just did another poll question. What travel plans do you have in 2022? Looks like everybody's ready to hit the road again, or hit the air, or take a cruise. 82% is ready to go. So that's good to know that everybody's ready to get back out there and resume, hopefully, some type of normalcy in the near future. The last question we have for our panel, we want to know, what is your best travel or vacation experience, and what place is on your bucket list? And I'm going to start off with Brian on that question.
So Iris brought up a good point earlier, and it's my life as well. I feel like the first time that I went to Ghana, it was life-changing. And I had already been to East Africa and like North Africa to Egypt, but it was just something about being in West Africa that as soon as I stepped off the plane, I was like, I'm home. And people were like moving like me and talking like me and just so receptive. And it was like nothing I'd ever experienced anywhere. And so I went to Ghana again in October last year during the pandemic, and then I went back in December. That's just how much I love it. I just tell everyone, like, you've got to go there. It's going to be life-changing regardless if you think so or not. And second, I'm looking forward to going to Rwanda and Uganda.
Wow, nice.
And the reason is that's where I was supposed to go last year on like March 16th. And I think that's right around when the world shut down. I was trying to go gorilla trekking because I'm daredevil. So I wanted to do that. So I look forward to being able to do that, eventually planning it again.
Sounds good. Iris, do you want to add anything about your best travel experience, or what places on your bucket list?
I wanted to touch on what Brian said. Brian, didn't they say welcome home everywhere you went?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's like, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home.
Like, I was in the supermarket checking out my groceries, and the lady heard me speaking to someone I was with. She said, "You're American?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Welcome home, you're staying, right?" And I'm like, man,
yeah.
me feeling like a sellout, man. I want to.
It is like every time they ask, when are you leaving? And you're like 3 days. They're like, so soon? Why are you leaving? Stay. Like,
you're home now. I went to South Africa and got the same reception, the exact same thing. Welcome home. Stay with us. It's incredible. They make you feel, like, wow, this is what I've been missing. This is my roots. It's awesome. It's awesome. But my best travel experience vacation, it would have to be South Africa, Ghana, the motherland trips. My heart is, I left a little bit of my heart in Bali too. I really, really appreciate the peacefulness that Bali offers, the slow down, smell the roses. They reminded me that several times. You're on vacation. We don't rush here. So I needed that in my life because I'm always, pulling, juggling a million things at one. And I learned how to just enjoy the moment. So those two have been at the top of my list.
All right, sounds good. Quenisha, do you want to talk about your best travel experience and some of the things on your places on your bucket list?
Well, I know since we started off the conversation with doing some solo travel, I'll start with one of my local solo travel adventures. I went to San Diego and stayed in a hostel there. I mean, even with solo traveling, you don't have to jump into going international. You can start with like local cities and small things, but I had a great experience there. It was a beautiful place. I met so many different people while staying at the hostel. We went and traveled together. We went to Tijuana together. It was a great experience. And it was also my first solo travel that I had experienced, and it just brought me in, and it's something that I want to definitely continue doing. And as far as places that are on my bucket list, I definitely want to go to Peru. Machu Picchu is a place that I have been in love with for quite some time, and I just really want to get there to see it. Definitely many of the African countries. I definitely want to see the Victoria Falls and things of the sort.
Sounds good. All right, so we're at the end of our interview portion of the session. We want to open up the floor to questions. The best way to do this, we have quite a few people on the line. Raise your hand. If you hit the reactions button, there should be a button to raise your hand so you can ask our panelists a question or two that you may have. I'm changing my view so I can actually see everybody.
Yeah, something happened.
Verlaine, can you unmute Layla? There you go. Layla, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, I'm wondering like best travel resources. I asked in the chat, but I didn't realize there was a question and answer period afterwards. Do you guys use like Scott's Cheap Flights, or are there like go-to things that you're like, this is a trusted resource that you really recommend?
Can I jump in?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I was just about to mention this, but one of my favorite websites is secretflying.com. There's even a way to set it up on Facebook so that their posts are the first posts that you see. And this is no lie. Today, they showed deals for the end of the year from like Charlotte, Philadelphia, and I forgot where else, to Hong Kong for as low as like $185 round trip on American Airlines. So it's legit. So people are always like, how do you travel so much? How are you able to afford it? They drop deals all day, every day. So there's even something on there right now from Washington to the Virgin Islands from like August through October for less than $200. And I use it all the time. And what it happens is they list legitimate deals. So you can go through a third-party site, or you can go directly to a lot of the airlines websites and book it on your own and save a ton of money. Sometimes there are mistake fares. The airlines don't always honor them, but the majority of the time they do. But yeah, check it out, secretflying.com. If you check it out right now, I'm sure you'll be surprised at what they have on there right now.
Sounds good. Did anyone of the other panelists want to chime in?
I was going to suggest, letting us do the work for you. Plug, Surreal Journeys Travel, call your travel agent and she or he will find you some amazing deals. We have, packages and resources that aren't available to the public. So leave the work to the experts. We got you.
Okay. Sounds good. Next question is from Femi.
Yeah, hey everybody. So my question is, I'm planning on traveling to Brazil, Brazil and Peru. Probably it's going to be a little bit, but I just wanted to get advice on what's the best way to arrange a trip like that. I'm thinking of like a 10 or 12-day trip, maybe 7 days in Brazil and then 3 to 5 days in Peru. But what would be the best way to kind of arrange something like that and do it efficiently, wisely, and how to go about that?
My response is always going to be leave it to the professionals.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? And if you're unable to get to that raise your hand button, just put it in the chat that you want to talk and we can unmute you. All right, Layla.
Hey, sorry, it's me again. A lot of questions. Love traveling. You guys have, and thanks. It was a great day. Happy day. You guys have, so when you go, I've found one person with me always makes me more open to talk to other people. Because if I embarrass myself in conversation, I'm like, whatever, I'll go back to my friend. So do you have like like, how do you, I know you said, Brian, you said go to a bar and like sit and just talk. Like, do you have go-to questions, or how do you like get over that, I don't know, that fear, that stage fright of traveling by yourself, especially as a woman? And like, I don't know, talking to people, what if they are mean? What do you do?
I wouldn't encourage this to everyone. It depends on your lifestyle, but there's what people like to call liquid confidence that comes when you have a drink at the bar. And the next thing you know, you'll find yourself just asking someone like, what brings you here? Or are you from here? And then once they say yes, you'll ask them, a suggestion or something like that. And, the next thing you know, you're talking for hours, and they'll say, when I leave from here, I'm going to go here and meet friends, or, this or that. And just use your best judgment and figure out, like, do I really want to, go to this place next door with this individual, or I just want to take their word on places to visit, and, maybe try to do that tomorrow or the next night or something like that.
Yeah, good points. Lydia, I see you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I pretty much said everything that I wanted to ask, as far as, solo traveling is concerned. But now that I have an idea of what I want to do, all I got to do is leave it up to you guys, like what places to go, things like that. Because I mean, I'm looking at right now, I've been doing virtual traveling on Google Earth, and I'm just looking at different places I've never been, especially the attractive that I would like to see, and what hotels I will probably want to stay at. And all I got to do is, like you said, like the girl was saying, leave it up to the professionals, what hotel to stay in. So most of the time I fly Southwest, but
Sounds good. Yeah, and for me, I still haven't got the courage yet to go overseas by myself, but I did a lot of domestic travel. So I always recommend that, because you do feel a little safer in a way when you're here in the States. So I definitely recommend that.
Yeah. At first, I was kind of reluctant for doing solo traveling, because my grandfather especially has this thing where you shouldn't go somewhere by yourself or whatever. He had this thing really, but then I learned that you can go with a group and something can jump off, because I've heard stories where people have went somewhere and that person ended up missing. So I mean, it just really depends on the person and how or what they're doing. I mean, I can't make somebody go with me if they ain't gonna go with me willingly.
That's true.
Right? You want me to what you want me to do? Manipulate somebody to go? I'm not doing that.
Right. Got a couple of questions in the chat. One from Charlene: how far in advance will you recommend booking flights and hotels?
Flights are only published 10 months in advance, so you can book your flights anytime after that. And hotels typically publish 15 months in advance.
Wow. Interesting. Well, thanks for sharing. I never knew that.
No problem.
And of course, always earlier the better to get the best deal. Sometimes you can get lucky and get those last minute trips or flights. One question from Miss Cutler. I saw your hand up. Oh, there you go. You're unmuted. Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you? Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep,
okay.
We can hear you.
My question is, for those places that are very popular tourist destinations, one is on my bucket list, which is Italy. And of course, Africa is another place. I've always heard that going on off season might be better if you really want to see some of the popular sites. So I want to know, for those from the travel agents, what is the off season for Italy, if you know? That's it. Or first question, I should say.
Okay, I didn't want to keep answering. I didn't want you guys to feel like I'm trying to take over, but I know the answers. The off season is as long as you stay away from the summer and the holidays. I mean, I've gone to Greece in December, and we paid all of $800, including flights. So you really can't catch a good deal as long as you stay away from those high seasons. So no holidays and no summer. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sounds good. Any other questions? All right, sounds good. I want to appreciate all three of you for joining us today. We're going to let you state your social media handles again so everybody know where to reach you and where to follow you at. I'll start with you, Iris. Do you mind go ahead and drop your information?
I think I muted myself. Okay, sure. You can find me on Surreal Journeys Travel on Gmail, Surreal Journeys Travel at Gmail. You can find me on Instagram with that same handle, on Facebook, on Twitter. I have a Facebook group that I spend most of my day in, along with thousands of my clients, so that you can research reviews. I post travel tips, pictures, videos, all of that good stuff. It is called Surreal Journeys Elite Travelers. So you can search that on Facebook and you'll find that group. Okay.
All right, sounds good. And Quenisha, you want to give your information?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Worldly Travels LLC. Also, my website is worldly-travels.com. I also put my information in the chat box as well, my email, my IG, my web address as well.
All right, sounds good. And Brian, can you drop your Instagram and website information or any information you want to leave with the group?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Beyond Be More, BEYONDBMORE. Always representing home. www.beyondbemore.com. Brian at beyondbemore.com is my email. BeMoreSeymour.org is my organization, and Be More Seymour on Instagram will take you there as well.
All right, sounds good. I want to thank everybody again. Verlaine wants to thank you too. I know we had some sound issues, but we're gonna get her straightened out the next discussion. But thank you again. I hope everybody learned something tonight. Hopefully this may encourage you to travel solo for those who haven't traveled solo, and maybe have a little better confidence about traveling during COVID. So everyone have a good night. We'll see you for our next event, which is next Friday. We're doing an event with Ingenious Gin. It's about 3 guys who built a gin company, and we're going to do a tasting and also make a craft cocktail. So hope everybody can join us next Friday for some cocktails and some fun.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Is the registration still open for that event?
Yes, it's still open for the event. We ask that you order your gin by the 23rd so you can get it in time for the event on the 30th.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Well, have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you at the next event.
Thank you.